two top prosecutors teaming up to fight juvenile crime.
We have to hold everyone accountable.
The bills they're jointly pushing for to improve the quality of life statewide. BGE proposes significant rate hikes to your energy bill.
Finding out that they want a rate hike, that really hurts.
How much more you could have to pay to keep the lights on. Two signs supporting Israel are slashed into pieces outside a local synagogue.
I think someone clearly slashed with some anger.
Why the rabbi believes this was trying to send a message.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News following breaking news tonight. A 16-year-old shot in Medfield just off 41st Street.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels is on the scene right now. Keith, what are you learning about the shooting?
Well, Kai, we're live at 41st Street at Edge Hill Avenue. Still a very active scene here behind me. The yellow tape is around the scene and evidence markers on the street. Detectives working the scene. Now, police have confirmed a 16-year-old boy shot. Paramedics have rushed him to the hospital with what police are calling non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Police got the call just after 2 o'clock today. Now, no more information yet on exactly what happened. Detectives gathering that information and evidence as we speak. Now, police have shut down traffic along this part of 41st Street. Traffic, including the buses, have been detoured. Traffic backing up as they work this scene. Again, a 16-year-old boy shot. Police say he will be okay. Neighbors in the neighborhood that we just spoke to, one of them identifies herself as a teacher. She says that she's very concerned about this. Students, in her words, involved in this kind of situation. Now, we have not confirmed whether that 16-year-old is a student or not, but neighbors say he is a student. Of course, when we learn more, we'll bring it to you. Well, live now in North Baltimore, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. And of course, we'll stay on that developing story. Meantime, Fox 45 News will keep you updated. Also, you can follow along on air and online on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Today, the top prosecutors from Baltimore City and Prince George's County officially unveiled their legislative priorities ahead of next session.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live. Mackenzie, you spoke exclusively with Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy yesterday about these plans. Yeah. What are their biggest priorities?
There are a few different things and a few different pieces of legislation included in this package, but really the focus comes down to young people and ensuring there's accountability. Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy are teaming up for the plan, and both say the current juvenile justice system need to be tweaked. That's why their proposal are calling to strengthen probation, allow state's attorneys to get involved in handgun and car theft cases earlier, and requires attorneys to be in person during questioning with law enforcement.
The attorney who's physically there will listen to the information, listen to the evidence, and will have the dialogue with the child and the child's parents to do what's going to be best for that child.
I think this really does put parents in a stronger position to make decisions on behalf of their children.
Why do you think extending the length of probation will impact juvenile crime?
Well, because it keeps people, makes sure they're held accountable.
Now, these proposals come after months of hearing from prosecutors, police, and parents criticize the current system, all pushing for change in Annapolis.
We spent a lot of time over the spring, the summer, and the fall talking to members of the judiciary and the Senate, trying to have as much dialogue. So I think there's an appetite for change.
Do you have sponsors for any of the bills?
Yeah, most of these bills have sponsors.
Now, the city state's attorney's office tells me lawmakers are still determining which bills that they'll sponsor during session, which, reminder, is slated to begin January 10th. We're live in the studio. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Bates and Braveboy are among top prosecutors across Maryland calling for changes to the juvenile justice system. They say current laws leave their hands tied and are not allowing kids to be held accountable.
Some of our laws that have been passed recently do make it a little more challenging for us to hold them accountable, and that's sort of playing a role in some of the issues we're seeing at the moment.
We can only hope that they'll not listen to just folks like me.
you know, it's just not fair.
I hope that the public commission will sort of put a no on that.
According to BGE, the proposal would pay for vital investments in aging infrastructure, such as investments in Baltimore City's underground conduit system, which BGE was given broad control of earlier this year. Mayor Brandon Scott fast-tracking the multi-million-dollar contract.
I made a commitment to always do what's in the best interest of the residents of Baltimore.
Despite 2 voting board members sitting out in protest.
The way that this entire situation has been handled is nothing more than a power grab and move that suits the interests of private industry.
Other BGE investments include outdoor gas regulators, initially required for all residents, but following more pushback and protests. The PSC ultimately ruling residents should get to choose whether they want the regulators or not.
And they're using their influence to bully and to just go through neighborhoods and completely dismiss our rights. And that is not okay.
Many city officials agreeing. In front of City Hall Tuesday, Councilman Antonio Glover and Zeke Cohen making a last-minute plea to the PSC, calling on them to deny BGE's rate hike request.
The multi-year rate plan, if approved, is a blank check from ratepayers to BGE to wreck our planet.
BG&E wants to raise the rate increase on the very same people that helps makes Baltimore thrive.
Some of whom say paying any more than what they're paying now could price them out of living in the city.
You can only get so much blood out of a turnip. It's just, sometimes there just isn't any more.
We've talked about like moving to Delaware, and a lot of people that I know, family members, have considered moving from Baltimore because the taxes just keep going up and up, it seems like, on everything.
Now, the PSC can choose to raise, lower, or keep your rates the same, and that decision can come in anytime before midnight this evening. So stay with us here at Fox 45 News. We will keep you up to date as soon as that ruling is released. Reporting live from the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. Also happening today, Governor Wes Moore signs an executive order to combat the overdose and substance abuse epidemic in Maryland. During the news conference, the governor said the state will expand resources and help Marylanders struggling with addiction.
These issues are personal. It's important, and today is an incredibly important day for our state. Also because it's not only hoping for a better future for those we pray never have to get caught up on this, but it's also honoring the legacy of those who did.
Well, the governor says the state will broaden its approach to fighting opioid addiction. They will rename the Opioid Operational Command Center to the Maryland Office for Overdose Response, and that office will now operate under the State Department of Health. The governor says these resources will help Marylanders and experts fighting addiction.
Turning now to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, heavy fighting continues in northern Gaza as Israel vows to push ahead until it crushes Hamas.
Israel is facing more international pressure to limit civilian casualties. There are still more than 100 hostages being held by Hamas. Freeing those hostages remains a top priority for Israel and the United States. Hamas leadership is trying to broker a new deal, swapping hostages for a ceasefire.
And the ongoing conflict having a ripple effect here in the U.S. We have seen a rise in anti-Semitic and anti-Palestinian incidents pop up across the country, especially on college campuses. And right here in Baltimore, a local synagogue falling victim to vandals. Signs in support of Israel destroyed overnight.
We have team coverage tonight on a local and national level.
Let's begin with Fox 45's Amy Simpson. She has more on the vandalization of that synagogue. Amy?
Yes, this happened right at the city-county line, really in the heart of the Baltimore region's Jewish community. Now, these signs outside of this synagogue replaced today after being slashed.
Coming off of Park Heights, went to Slade, driving past every morning. Can't miss the sign.
Edwin Chittum first saw the damage around 6 a.m. Monday.
Just the way they were cut, you could tell it was some kind of sharp object.
Even before sunrise, the facilities and operations coordinator at Baltimore Hebrew Congregation,
It's a terrible thing.
knew it was nefarious.
I don't know who would want to be out in that weather, on Sunday night. It was nasty out, so it took somebody that was nasty to come out in nasty weather and do that.
The signs outside of the synagogue, which were emblazoned with 2 messages,
We stand with the people of Israel and bring the hostages home.
slashed. The congregation's rabbi pulling them from a trash bag today. Tattered.
It was very disturbing getting the phone call. I have to be honest, given the atmosphere in this country, it was disturbing, not totally shocking.
And telling a story of their own.
I think it's calling attention, A, to the impingement on our rights as American citizens to express our feelings and our views.
Rabbi Andrew Bush says it's possible vandals were trying to send a message as this hateful act comes during Hanukkah.
I think someone clearly slashed with some anger.
But Baltimore's tight-knit Jewish community,
This campus, this shul, is both in Baltimore City and Baltimore County.
showing solidarity today.
Every year during Hanukkah, the candles that we light during the holiday are meant to represent the bringing forth of light into darkness.
The synagogue very publicly unveiling an exact replica of those signs on this busy corner where the city meets the county.
You can destroy our signs, but you can't destroy our community.
Denouncing the vandalism.
We bring light into the world, refusing to be silenced.
Calling it both unacceptable and anti-Semitic.
Baltimore Hebrew won't stand for it.
Now today, Baltimore County Police tell me they are investigating this as a possible hate crime. And between January and November of this year, County Police tell me there have been 125 hate bias cases here in the county. That's up from 93 cases in all of 2022. We're live in Pikesville. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Still ahead tonight, Fox 45 News continues to follow the controversy surrounding Maryland's embattled college savings plan. The problem parents are still facing and the key leader stepping down.
Officials warning about the potential for violence over the holidays. I'm Atrell Nashar with what's behind the heightened risk coming up.
And it's been a nice and sunny day with temperatures reaching the upper 40s, right around average for this time of year. But tomorrow, we're looking at the 50s. I'll let you know how long to expect the warmer temperatures in my full forecast.
Federal government agencies issuing an updated warning about holiday gatherings being potential targets for violent attacks by lone actors. They say the heightened threat stems from tensions related to the Israel-Hamas war. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar reports from Washington.
Fears of violence overseas spilling into the United States. A PSA from the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and National Counterterrorism Center this week says ongoing tensions related to the conflict between Israel and Hamas likely heighten the threat of lone actor violence targeting large public gatherings throughout the winter. They say that includes not just protests, but faith-based events and holiday gatherings like New Year's Eve. Last week, FBI Director Christopher Wray told senators the Bureau is working around the clock to identify and disrupt potential attacks inspired by Hamas.
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn. Post-October 7th, you've seen a veritable rogues gallery of foreign terrorist organizations calling for attacks against us.
Attorney General Merrick Garland instructing U.S. attorneys to meet with local law enforcement and community leaders about what they're seeing on the ground.
All of us have also seen a particularly sharp increase in the volume and the frequency of threats against Jewish, Arab, Muslim, and Palestinian communities across our country since October 7th.
Across the world, multiple terror plots appear to be thwarted. On Thursday, German and Danish authorities separately announcing arrests of 7 people across Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands accused of planning to carry out acts of terror. Some of them, German prosecutors say, are linked to Hamas. European Home Affairs Commissioner Ylva Johansson said this just last week.
With the upcoming holiday season, there is a huge risk of terrorist attacks in the European Union.
Back here in the U.S., authorities say the risk for violence could be heightened even further if the Israel-Hamas conflict escalates or if there's significant violence in the U.S. that could inspire retaliatory or copycat attacks. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
And that brings us to our national question of the day. Are you concerned about a terror attack on U.S. soil? To make your voice heard, head to foxbaltimore.com, click on the Pulse tab.
It's been a pretty nice day. We've had plenty of sunshine and now starting to see the beautiful colors from the sunset over Baltimore. 47, the wind chill coming in the lower 40s, so it does feel a little bit cooler than our actual temperatures. Around the state, we're mainly seeing numbers in the 40s, plenty of sunshine across the state. It's been nice and quiet, and tonight it stays quiet. Temperatures will drop to the 20s and 30s, and for most of us, we'll start the day with freezing temperatures. That means you'll want to give the car some extra time to warm up, and you will want the layers. Now we have a nice warm up for the afternoon. Our temperatures will reach the upper 50s. We'll be in the mid 50s on Saturday and once again on Sunday, but notice we have our next chance for showers on Sunday, getting ready for the latest weather maker, bringing much needed rain to our region. We've had high pressure over us, dominating our pattern, keeping us dry. This is what is giving us those sunny skies. And once again, tomorrow, high pressure dominates our pattern, keeping us quiet and dry. You'll notice that we wake up to sunny skies in the morning, then no clouds for the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, looking at a great start to the weekend, especially with those higher temperatures. Clouds will begin to move in, though, as we head into Saturday morning. We keep the clouds into the afternoon. And then after that, we get ready for our next weather maker. That will lead to a few showers to start off Sunday morning, but it's the afternoon when we expect widespread rain across our state. Notice, though, those yellows indicating moderate, even heavy rain. If you have plans to be out and about, just make sure that you're driving safely. The rain's going to continue overnight and then into early Monday. This could lead to impacts for your morning commute, so be sure to drive safely. Later in the day, the rain will start to taper. We'll stay mostly dry, though, after that. It looks good for Tuesday, and then on Wednesday and Thursday up next week, we'll enjoy a dry pattern. 31 for the low tonight. Then tomorrow, our temperatures reach 57 with sunny skies. We stay in the 50s through Monday. Again, we've got rain on Sunday and Monday. After that, cooler with temperatures in the 40s and 50s. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Still ahead tonight, the ongoing car theft crisis prompting one Maryland entrepreneur to take action. How he says his business model could help worried neighbors. But first, the former Speaker of the House taking a public stance on former President Trump, his fiery comments and similar words from other GOP candidates. A new poll shows Americans aren't thrilled about a potential Biden versus Trump election in 2024. An Associated Press NORC poll says overall, 58% of U.S. adults would be dissatisfied with Trump as the GOP nominee, and about 56% would be dissatisfied with Biden as the Democratic presidential nominee. Neither one is viewed favorably by a majority of Americans. Only 36% say they view Trump favorably, 42% say they view Biden favorably. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan blasted longtime nemesis Donald Trump during a virtual event yesterday. After blaming him for repeated GOP election losses, Ryan called Trump, quote, an authoritarian narcissist. Ryan adding all of Trump's tendencies are basically where narcissism takes him, which is whatever makes him popular, makes him feel good at any given moment. Some of Trump's opponents in the Republican primary saying the same thing.
I agree with a lot of his policies, but chaos follows him. Rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him. And now is a time where we have a country in disarray and a world on fire. We can't afford 4 more years of chaos and survive it.
Nikki Haley is running a distant second in the GOP field behind Trump. Ryan is reportedly privately lobbying Republicans to support her candidacy. Well, coming up after the break, Baltimore City installing new red light cameras, but is it benefiting residents? Fox 45 News taking a closer look at the move and the impact it could have on you. Plus, the latest Maryland school report card shows 3 of the state's highest performing school systems have fallen. Project Baltimore breaking down the numbers.
Developing tonight, the Baltimore Department of Transportation is attempting to crack down on drivers running red lights by installing new red light cameras around the city.
That's right. 8 new cameras went online this week alone. Drivers will receive a $75 ticket for violations.
But now some are questioning the placement of these new cameras and the intentions behind the move. Maryland Senator Antonio Hayes is joining us live tonight to weigh in. Senator Hayes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. You have a strong stance on these cameras. Will you tell us why, and can you tell us where in the city these are being placed that has you worried?
Absolutely. And so, I am all about safety. I support the city's efforts in trying to make sure our pedestrians are safe. But the strategy of overly concentrating, not just the red light cameras, but also the speed light cameras in communities without fixing the problem that make many of these roadways attractive to speeding and putting pedestrians in danger is a problem, right? So I think one of them will be installed at Liberty Heights and Reisterstown Road. Well, there's another camera just up the street, no farther than 6 blocks away at Liberty Heights and Hilton, right? And so these cameras are starting to be overly concentrated. So it raised a question to individuals: are they really trying to have an effect on safety, or is this essentially another money grab? And when I raise these issues with Baltimore City Department of Transportation, what they say to me is, hey, most of the people that are fined by these cameras live in the surrounding counties. That doesn't give me any comfort, because even if it's not Baltimore City residents that receive these fines, we also Baltimore City residents are impacted by the level of insurance in which we're paying. I moved from a really busy neighborhood in downtown Baltimore to a residential community, and my insurance, my car insurance, almost doubled. And so at the end of the day, as Marylanders, whether you're a Baltimore City resident or in a surrounding county, you're paying the price of this concentration of cameras. What I'd like to see the city do is find other more permanent ways to address pedestrian safety here in the city of Baltimore, and not just focus on, using these devices as a penalizing measure.
Can I ask, though, do you think that cameras could better improve safety elsewhere in front of schools? I have a great example. Roland and Northern Parkway, because I see more people blow that light going, 70 miles an hour. And that's near schools.
So that's the thing, Mary. When the program was introduced, it was proposed as a way to slow down traffic near school systems. But if schools near where schools were located, but if you look at where they're being located, many of them are very far away from schools. I mean, the cameras aren't even active at nighttime, because the reason why the legislation, why these cameras was allowed, was to protect around schools. And so we desperately need them. But you know what else would slow down traffic at that intersection? Is raised sidewalks, a more permanent physical structure to slow down traffic. The Bloomberg School just did a recent study that said narrow streets also slow down traffic. There are more permanent ways to address and mitigate dangerous traffic, than to simply find our residents and our constituents. And that's right. What I'm asking the city to do. Find other alternative ways that aren't as punitive, that are more permanent and long lasting, to address the problem we hope to fix.
And Senator Hayes, let's switch gears here for a moment. As you know, obviously, and you're aware, City State's Attorney Ivan Bates teamed up with Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy for the unified message to the legislature. Can you tell us which parts of their priority that you agree or disagree with? And do you think the legislature might act to do something about what's going on with the juvenile crime laws? Because Marylanders are speaking out in unison, not just the prosecutors, but residents saying something has to be done.
Yeah, no, I think there is general agreement that something need to be done in the legislature, in the community. And I do believe that something will be done. I had a chance to see the interview that was conducted by the two states' attorneys. It's probably one of the more substantive interviews that I've seen and recent, as opposed to the rhetoric of just changing the law. These two professionals and leaders actually came to the table in that interview and offered some real substantial ways where we can help improve public safety. One of those, raised by our own state's attorney, Ivan Bates, was the suggestion that the state's attorney's office should have the opportunity to be involved when there's incidents of misdemeanors conducted by juveniles at an earlier stage than just leaving it up to DJS. Where I may disagree, sometimes we try to legislate everything. And I don't think everything needs to be legislated. Like, one of the things that we could absolutely do without legislation is better improve the programs that our young people are going to that provide more supervision and address the severe violent behaviors that it seems that this small percentage of young people are perpetrating in our community. And so we need programs, not the traditional programs that we're used to, but we need to identify programs, because we've learned after decades and decades of trying, incarceration should not just be the only opportunity to address these behaviors, but the level of violence that's being demonstrated by these young people, we need greater level of supervision and intervention and accountability.
So changes will be hashed out in January when everybody returns to Annapolis. Senator Antonio Hayes, great to have you on the show today. I hope you come back, but thank you for your perspective on red light cameras and maybe some reform to the juvenile justice laws.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
New tonight, the embattled executive director of the state's college savings plan quietly stepped down from his position last month.
That's right. His resignation follows a year of intense controversy for that state agency.
From frozen accounts to disappearing funds, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor breaks down the many problems parents faced under his leadership and their reaction to his resignation. Rebecca, you followed this story from the very beginning.
Yeah, we did. And it is a departure, as we've been reporting, that many account holders have been calling for, but not one that many saw coming. You'll remember earlier this year, state lawmakers, they passed new legislation ordering the treasurer's office to take over the Maryland 529 program. This after the agency suddenly froze the funds inside thousands of accounts, then later told investors that they had been overpaid. In some cases, parents reported tens of thousands of dollars suddenly slashed from their child's college savings. In the year that Savia was overseeing the issues, account holders criticized him for poor communication and a lack of transparency. So when the treasurer's office took over the agency, many expected new leadership to follow. Instead, Savia stayed on to run the program despite outrage from account holders.
You've taken all of the bad decisions that were made prior to taking over, and you're just continuing them. I need this money in order to pay for the fall semester tuition, or else I'm going to be going into debt. And I'm going to see that the state is responsible for that debt.
Now, on Savia's last day was November 30th. It marks just a little over a year that he spent with that state agency. During that time, Fox 45 tried on a number of occasions to discuss the problems that parents were facing, but time and time again, Savia refusing to answer our questions. Take a look. Why won't you answer our questions? You're just ignoring us. You don't think that these families have a right to know what's going on with their money?
Patty is in there, and she's got a statement for you.
So you're not taking questions again?
Correct.
And why aren't you taking questions?
Patty over there has a statement.
Now, the treasurer's office confirmed Savia's resignation this afternoon, but declined to comment when asked why he resigned. I also reached out to Savia directly, but as of news time tonight, have not heard back. Reporting live from the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Continuing coverage tonight, Baltimore City alone has seen more than 11,000 car thefts and carjackings this year. Police say juveniles are responsible for about 38% of those thefts. With fear of car thefts and carjackings at an all-time high across Maryland, a local entrepreneur has an idea to bring gasoline to you so you can avoid the gas station. Brad Bell from our Sinclair sister station in Washington has the story.
The videos are often terrifying. A man pumping gas is attacked by carjackers with an assault rifle. The stories victims tell can be chilling.
I just turn around, I just see him coming at me with the gun pointed at me, talking about, give me your keys, give me your keys.
The epidemic of carjacking taking a toll, economically, physically, and emotionally. For some, the act of filling up at a gas station is now accompanied by fear, which is one reason a Maryland entrepreneur is offering an alternative.
Call us up. It's just like Uber Eats and DoorDash. Put your order in, we pull right up, you pop your tank, we fill you up what gas you want, drop your receipt, and we're gone.
Bowie resident John Spalding is founder of New Look Mobile Fuel. It took some doing, but he's now fully licensed in Maryland and operating this mobile gas station, which he'll dispatch right to your driveway or parking lot. He got the idea in California when he rented an expensive sports car and they told him to use a mobile fuel service. He doesn't have his website set up yet. For now, he's taking phone orders. As an extra measure of safety, there is no cash involved in these mobile gas transactions. The system prints out a digital receipt. They can stick it under your windshield wiper or even email it to you. The gas price is roughly the same as at a gas station, plus a fee for the service.
Delivery fee is anywhere from $10 to $20. Southern Maryland's $20. Anywhere in Prince George County is $15 for us to come out.
For now, Spalding is concentrating on Prince George's County, but he's hoping to grow. In Lanham, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Today, the Baltimore County Police Department provided anti-theft software updates to Hyundai owners. The upgrade available for people who own a model manufactured between 2011 and 2022 with turnkey ignition.
There are more than 200,000 registered Hyundai owners across Maryland, including more than 12,000 right here in Baltimore. This weekend, this free anti-theft clinic will help the Hyundai owners and vehicle owners across the region by making their cars safer.
Well, the three-day event continues tomorrow through Sunday. In addition to the upgrade, each owner was also offered a steering wheel lock as an extra layer of security.
If you have a stolen car story or know somebody who's been impacted by the spike in auto thefts, we want to hear about it. Scan that QR code right there on your screen. Tell us what happened or send an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
Coming up after the break, the holiday season means traveling in winter weather. The tips you need to be aware of to stay safe on the roads.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, we unpack Capitol Hill lawmakers' latest attempt to punish universities for rising anti-Semitism on college campuses. We are getting ready for a cold night with temperatures dropping to the 20s and 30s, but tomorrow our next warm-up is here. I'll let you know just how high the temperatures get coming up in my full forecast.
U.S. lawmakers are upset with Harvard's response to rising anti-Semitism and are threatening to pull billions of dollars worth of federal funding and tax breaks. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
Each year, Harvard receives billions of dollars courtesy of the federal government through direct tax payments, tax breaks, and federal student loans. That money under threat by lawmakers upset with the school's apparent failure to address rising anti-Semitism on campus since the Israel-Hamas war broke out on October 7th. Florida Senator Rick Scott demanding an immediate vote on a bill to rescind federal funding from schools that peddle anti-Semitism or authorize, fund, or facilitate events that promote violent anti-Semitism. If passed, it would be a hard blow to universities. Scott's bill is a direct reaction to last week's hearing in the House, where the presidents of Harvard, UPenn, and MIT fumbled through whether or not calling for the genocide of Jews was against their university codes of conduct.
The world watched and the world heard their answers in horror.
UPenn's president Liz McGill resigned amid the backlash following the hearing. Harvard and MIT's presidents will keep their jobs for now. House lawmakers planning to introduce their own bill to defund institutions like Harvard over the issue. On Wednesday, the House passed a bipartisan resolution condemning the president's testimonies and condemning anti-Semitism at American colleges.
We clearly have tremendous work ahead of us, Mr. Speaker, to address this rot of anti-Semitism that is now rooted in our once premier higher education institutions.
Not all lawmakers voted for the measure.
We need to do everything the law allows to address anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. This resolution is not a serious effort to advance that cause.
Meanwhile, the Department of Education adding 6 more colleges to the growing list of schools under investigation for rising instances of anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, and anti-Muslim discrimination on campus. UCLA, Stanford, and Rutgers among those just added. Harvard and UPenn were already on the list. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
And turning to your consumer news right now, the number of people filing for unemployment fell last week. The Labor Department reported there were 202,000 applications for jobless benefits last week. That was down 19,000 compared to the week before. A total of roughly 1.88 million people were collecting unemployment benefits in the week that ended December 2nd. Americans continued to spend money last month. The Commerce Department reported that retail sales in the United States were up 0.3% from November to October. Now, when you exclude vehicle and gas sales, sales were up 0.6%. Sales in October declined 0.2% for the first time since the spring. Jasmine? Oh, well, Jasmine, I wanted to add, we've already seen snow this season, and we're in the middle of the busy holiday season with people traveling around the area. So now's a good time to make sure that you're prepared for that winter driving weather. And today on Fox 45 Morning News, we spoke with MDOT Administrator Chrissy Nizer about what you need to know to stay safe on the road.
So make sure your car is prepared, first of all, right? You want to do those good maintenance things, your brakes in good working orders, your wipers. You want to make sure you have that scraper in your car just in case you go somewhere and get surprised with it. Certainly, if there's snow on your car, make sure you remove all that. It's not only in your best interest, but obviously the other drivers. If snow comes flying off the vehicle at a high speed, incredibly dangerous.
That's a pet peeve of mine, people who don't scrape off their cars.
Well, taking a live look over Baltimore this evening, it was a cold start this morning with temperatures in the 20s, believe it or not. Here's meteorologist Jasmine Lomax. So Jasmine and I had this conversation after we left work last night. I said, hey, it's cold outside, Jasmine. Aren't you happy? She said, no, Kai.
No.
I don't like the cold. I like the snow.
Exactly.
And that's an important distinction.
It's very important. You know, it's one thing when it's cold. It's another thing when it's cold and snowing.
Right.
and so that is what I'm looking forward to, the snow. But certainly none of that this weekend. We're actually talking a warming trend. Temperatures tomorrow will be about 10 degrees higher than where they currently are. So if you've been waiting on some higher numbers, those are on the way right in time for the weekend. 47 with a beautiful sunset over Towson. It feels more like it's in the low 40s, so the wind is playing a bit of a factor. Around the state, lots of sunshine and temperatures in the 40s. It's been a pretty quiet day, and overnight it stays quiet, but it does get cold. Our temperatures will fall to the 20s and 30s, and for most of us, we're starting off freezing once again. But for the afternoon, you can expect that warm up. Temperatures will reach 57. We're looking at the mid-50s on Saturday and again on Sunday. But notice for Sunday, we have the chance for rain, and that's all associated with our next weather maker. We've had high pressure keeping us dry. It's going to provide plenty of sunshine tomorrow, staying over our region. But once we head later into the weekend, that high pressure system will depart and the next weather maker moves in. So notice on the future scan, we start with sunshine tomorrow. It looks great for the afternoon. And then as we head into Saturday morning, we'll start with more clouds. We keep the clouds for the afternoon, and that's all in preparation for our next weather maker. That could lead to a few showers starting off on Sunday morning after daybreak, but we're talking widespread rain. At times that rain could be moderate, even heavy for the afternoon. Expect the rain to continue overnight, lasting into Monday morning. This could mean a rainy commute. But as we head later into the day, the rain starts to taper, and we're looking at a mostly dry pattern as we continue through the middle of the upcoming week. Tonight, our temperatures will drop to 31, keeping us below freezing. Then tomorrow, highs reach 57 for a nice warm-up. Expect plenty of sunshine for a great start to the weekend. Then temperatures will be in the mid-50s on Saturday. Another great day if you plan on spending some time outdoors. Then 55 on Sunday with the next weather maker. Expect rain. After that, 57 on Monday with more rain. The rain does gradually start to taper later in the day, though. Then we're talking a cool down following that weather maker. 44 on Tuesday and mostly dry. We'll be in the mid-40s as we head into Wednesday. And then for Thursday, temperatures a little above average with highs around 50. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, the Biden family facing 2 criminal indictments and an impeachment investigation. A closer look into their legal troubles and how it began. First, the holidays are quickly approaching. How the Baltimore City Police Department is giving back to those in need. The Baltimore City Police Department and Roca are getting into the holiday spirit. They held a toy drive and a meal giveaway today. Officers from the department and members from Roca distributed hundreds of toys and meals to Baltimore residents.
The best part about today really is that we're giving back, and our staff, we talk all the time about gratitude and the things we're able to do with the young people and their families, and it makes you feel good that you can be a part of a community and help someone out, even if it's just one toy or a hot meal. The holidays are tough for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, so if we can be a part of making it better, we're all for it, and we're definitely here to give support in any way that we can.
Well, members from Roca say they plan to engage with small businesses in the community in the coming weeks as part of giving back. Well, many of you are showing how you're getting into the holiday spirit. On the left, Debbie sent us this picture of Leo sitting with Santa Claus. We love that, Debbie. Leo's cute. In the middle, Morgan sent us this awesome picture of a tree. She says her boys decided the theme this year would be Willy Wonka, of course, just in time for the new movie. And on the right, Alicia sent us this adorable picture of Finley. We like Finley, celebrating their first Christmas with the family. Finley's cute. Hey, we'd like to see how you're celebrating the holidays this year. Scan the QR code right there on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com, where you can upload your pictures and videos, all powered, by the way, by Stackla. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, new proposals from two top prosecutors in Maryland who want to curb juvenile crime. We look at the potential impact across the state. Rising overdoses connected to a popular weight loss and diabetes drug, the warnings from doctors about Ozempic. Two top prosecutors unveil shared priorities to help curb juvenile crime. A closer look at what they want.
You can destroy our signs, but you can't destroy our community.
We bring light into the world, refusing to be silenced.
Two signs supporting Israel left slashed and destroyed outside a Pikesville synagogue. Why the rabbi says the incident isn't shocking.
And later, Maryland's embattled college savings program now losing one of its top leaders. The unexpected departure and what comes next for the program.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News following breaking news. A 16-year-old shot in Medfield this afternoon just before school or as school was getting out.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels is on the scene right now. Keith, what are you learning now about the shooting?
Well, Kai and Mary, we're live at 41st Street at Edgehill Avenue. Now, police, Kai, have now confirmed the victim, a 16-year-old boy. He's expected to be okay. Now, police have cleared the scene here. Was across the street there for the most part, and the block has reopened. Traffic moving smoothly now as investigators try to determine exactly what led up to this shooting. Now, police say it happened just after 2 o'clock today. When officers arrived, they found the boy with what police are calling non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Paramedics rushed the victim to the hospital. Again, he's expected to be okay. No information yet on exactly what happened. Detectives were here gathering information and evidence. Meantime, a 16-year-old boy, one of the latest victims in the city, involved in a shooting. We're live now in North Baltimore. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Fox 45 News will follow this developing story. You can follow along on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
Fox 45 News following two big stories tonight. First, two of Maryland's top prosecutors saying enough is enough when it comes to juvenile crime.
We believe that our young people are truly our future, and we are committed to their success. But we know that accountability, appropriate punishment, and consequences have to be a part of any process for rehabilitation.
The new proposals they're bringing to the table to help curb the violence across the state.
I think it's ridiculous, and I think it should not be raised.
Why am I paying one rate today for the same service I'm going to get tomorrow, but even at double the price, if not triple?
And is it fair for BGE to raise rates of utilities? That's a question the Public Service Commission will have to answer before the end of the day. BGE is requesting a more than $600 million increase for customers over the next 3 years.
But as Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor's reporting tonight, the PSC, until it approves it, it is not a done deal. She joins us live with much more on this. Rebecca?
Yeah, that's right, Mary and Kai. The PSC is the state agency that's in charge of overseeing and approving any of BG&E's proposed rate hikes. Now, after months of back and forth debate over how much to charge people, today is the deadline for the PSC's final decision. With winter weather here and temperatures dwindling down, your BGE bill is likely already on the rise. What do you think about your current BGE bill?
It's crappy. Poopy, as I say.
I think it's ridiculous.
Not good, and finding out that they want a rate hike, that really hurts.
In a struggling economy, those struggling to make ends meet,
People can't afford food.
anxious and outraged by BGE's calls for a $602 million rate increase, costing customers an additional 5% every year over the next 3 years.
We're retired, and so it's tough, and everybody wants more money all the time. And, you know, it's just not fair.
I hope that the Public Commission will sort of put a no on that.
According to BGE, the proposal would pay for vital investments in aging infrastructure, such as investments in Baltimore City's underground conduit system, which BGE was given broad control of earlier this year. Mayor Brandon Scott fast-tracking the multi-million-dollar contract.
I made a commitment to always do what's in the best interest of the residents of Baltimore.
Despite two voting board members sitting out in protest.
The way that this entire situation has been handled is nothing more than a power grab and move that suits the interests of private industry.
Other BGE investments include outdoor gas regulators, initially required for all residents, but following more pushback and protests. The PSC ultimately ruling residents should get to choose whether they want the regulators or not.
And they're using their influence to bully and to just go through neighborhoods and completely dismiss our rights. And that is not okay.
Many city officials agreeing. In front of City Hall Tuesday, Councilman Antonio Glover and Zeke Cohen making a last-minute plea to the PSC, calling on them to deny BGE's rate hike request.
The multi-year rate plan, if approved, is a blank check
from ratepayers to BGE to wreck our planet.
BG&E wants to raise the rate increase on the very same people that helps makes Baltimore thrive.
Some of whom say paying any more than what they're paying now could price them out of living in the city.
You can only get so much blood out of a turnip. It's just, sometimes there just isn't any more.
We've talked about like moving to Delaware, and a lot of people that I know, family members, have considered moving from Baltimore because the taxes just keep going up and up, it seems like, on everything.
Now, the PSC can choose to either raise, lower, or keep your rates completely the same, and that decision can come in anytime today before midnight. So stay with us here at Fox 45 News. We will keep you up to date with the latest whenever that ruling is released. Reporting live from the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Also happening today, Governor Westmore signed an executive order to combat the overdose and substance abuse epidemic in Maryland. During his news conference, the governor highlighted how that order will expand resources and help for Marylanders struggling with addiction.
These issues are personal. It's important, and today is an incredibly important day for our state. Also because it's not only hoping for a better future for those we pray never have to get caught up on this, but it's also honoring the legacy of those who did.
Well, according to the governor, that order will broaden the state government's approach to tackle the opioid crisis. It will rename the Opioid Operational Command Center to the Maryland Office for Overdose Response and more than double the size of the Maryland Overdose Response Advisory Council and put the Maryland Office for Overdose Response within the Department of Health. The governor says these resources will help ensure residents and experts are able to fight addiction. As Fox 45 News told you last night, the top prosecutors from Baltimore City and Prince George's County unveiled their legislative priorities ahead of the next session.
That's right. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost spoke exclusively with Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy yesterday about those plans. She gives us a closer look at their priorities.
There are several different pieces of legislation included in this package, but it all comes down to accountability and ensuring young people face consequences. For months, there has been frustration from prosecutors around the state.
Some of our laws that have been passed recently do make it a little more challenging for us to hold them accountable.
As well as police and parents.
They catch these kids, and then 2 hours later, they're released.
All taking issue with the state's juvenile justice laws. One preventing kids 13 and younger from facing nonviolent misdemeanor charges, and another requires an attorney to authorize law enforcement during questioning of a young person, even if the parent approves. Now,
in so many ways, I feel like I'm returning home.
State's attorneys from two of Maryland's largest areas, Baltimore City and Prince George's County, say they've heard those complaints.
We spent a lot of time over the spring, the summer, and the fall talking to members of the judiciary and the Senate, trying to have as much dialogue. So I think there's an appetite for change.
That's why we are asking the legislature to revisit our juvenile statute.
The pair sitting down with us for an exclusive interview to review the proposals. It includes extending probation for young people, allowing the state's attorney's office to get involved in handgun and theft cases earlier, and requires an attorney to be in person during questioning with law enforcement.
Where the attorney who's physically there will listen to the information, listen to the evidence, and will have the dialogue with the child and the child's parents to do what's going to be best for that child.
When it comes to the length of probation, Bates and Braveboy both agree it's not long enough, especially when kids have to wait months to start a court-ordered program, which means sometimes those kids don't complete it.
That's a problem, and that's a very real problem because there's not enough resources available through the Department of Juvenile Services. I think we have to support and work with DJS. They are the experts on children here in the state of Maryland.
Why do you think extending the length of probation will impact juvenile crime?
Well, because it keeps people, make sure they're held accountable.
The two also want the Department of Juvenile Services to notify the courts when a kid violates their probation. Right now, they say that isn't always the case.
Once they've been violated, then we'd like to have the judge, the judicial magistrate, make the determination whether to bring them in and talk to them, or if they violate and the court feels that, hey, we must detain them to get their attention, that's the court's prerogative. But we want to make sure that DJS reports these violations to the court as quickly as possible.
The prosecutors say they are hopeful there's support from lawmakers in Annapolis to get these proposals across the finish line.
Our package, we think, provides both help for our communities to keep people safe, as well as hope for individuals who need that second chance.
At the end of the day, we serve the people, and this isn't just what we want. This is what the people have told us they want.
The package also calls for expanding the state's organized crime rings, which both prosecutors say could help go after the growing trend of organized carjackings that we're seeing across the state. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Bates and Brave Boy are just two of more than a dozen top prosecutors across Maryland calling for changes to the juvenile justice system. They say current laws leave their hands tied, allowing young people to act without fear of consequences.
Some of our laws that have been passed recently do make it a little more challenging for us to hold them accountable, and that's sort of playing a role in some of the issues we're seeing at the moment.
We can only hope that they'll not listen to just folks like me or my 23 colleagues across the state who are the chief prosecutors in their counties, but hopefully they'll listen to their citizens, because their citizens are saying the exact same thing. Enough's enough.
Fox 45 News has heard from frustrated residents across the state who say juvenile crime is impacting their daily lives. Communities from Federal Hill to Woodlawn have held meetings to address the issue.
They catch these kids, and then 2 hours later, they're released. And there must be some sort of systemic reason for that just isn't right.
If you do a crime, you've killed someone, you've stolen a car, you're committing theft repeatedly, I don't understand why there should not be a response.
Well, DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi will be a panelist at Senate President Bill Ferguson's town hall on Monday, aimed at addressing juvenile crime and public safety concerns in Baltimore. But as Fox 45 News has reported, Schiraldi has some controversial views on juvenile justice. And while the governor has called the DJS secretary a reformer, others say his views make Maryland less safe.
You're basically saying up until the age of 25, which is what he wants to do, you get a free ride.
Unfortunately, legislators, lawmakers, have decided that it's better to support the lawbreakers rather than those who are enforcing the law.
DJS also facing questions about how it keeps track of the children in its system. A Fox 45 investigation revealed the department has 14 staff members to look after more than 100 kids. That is nearly a 1-to-9 ratio. Many of the children not at a DJS facility are under home monitoring, but prosecutors tell Fox 45 News the penalties for breaking home monitoring rules start with a discussion with a child, rarely involving a judge. Former prosecutor Roya Hanna says that's not enough of a deterrent.
The child knows they can go out, they can do whatever they want, behave any kind of way, and maybe they'll get a stern talking to for 10 or 15 minutes. That's not going to teach them anything.
House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson are two of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. If you feel your juvenile crime concerns are not being heard, contact them. We have their phone numbers and email addresses right there on your screen.
Fox 45 News is hosting our own town hall on public safety next week. We invite you to join us. City Councilman Eric Costello and mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon will be on our panel. That takes place Wednesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. at Leadenhall Baptist Church.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5, a Baltimore County Jewish center vandalized a synagogue, the latest crime in the growing number of anti-Semitic incidents in Maryland.
What we're seeing now, it's out of control.
And more talk on the juvenile crime crisis. We speak with a family directly impacted by what happened.
And we are getting ready for our next warm-up, and it arrives just in time for the weekend. We're talking temperatures well above average into the mid to upper 50s. I'll let you know how long you can expect this warm trend and when we'll see rain in my full forecast.
Fox 45 News continues our coverage on the war in the Middle East. Happening now, at least 9 Israeli soldiers have been killed in an ambush marking one of the deadliest single attacks Palestinian militants have carried out since the ground invasion of Gaza began. They're actually Hamas militants. The attack came after repeated recent claims by Israel's military that it had broken down Hamas's command structure in northern Gaza. Israel's prime minister has vowed to press ahead with the Gaza offensive until the end, rejecting continued pressure from other countries for a ceasefire. Here in Maryland, a synagogue at the city-county line vandalized this week. The Jewish community calling it an act of anti-Semitism during Hanukkah.
I don't know who would want to be out in that weather, on Sunday night. It was nasty out, so, it took somebody that was nasty to come out in nasty weather and do that.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live in Pikesville in front of that synagogue and with more on what she's learning about what happened there. Amy?
Yeah, so Mary, these two signs actually outside of this synagogue replaced today after being slashed. The synagogue telling me it happened sometime overnight Sunday into Monday. The rabbi here at Baltimore Hebrew Congregation showed us the tattered pieces of those damaged signs today. The signs that read, "We stand with the people of Israel and bring the hostages home." Very publicly today, the Jewish community came together to unveil exact replicas of the signs. They're posted right here at the intersection of Park Heights and Slade Avenue, right where Baltimore City meets Baltimore County.
It was very disturbing getting the phone call. I have to be honest, given the atmosphere in this country, it was disturbing, not totally shocking. I think it's calling attention, A, to the impingement on our rights as American citizens to express our feelings and our views.
And Amy, how are Baltimore County residents responding to this vandalism?
Yeah, so today Baltimore County Police telling me that they are investigating this as a possible hate crime. Between January and November of this year, the county police telling me there's been a total of 125 hate bias cases, and that's up from 93 cases in all of 2022. We're live in Pikesville. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
It was another cool day with temperatures reaching the upper 40s, keeping us close to average. But this weekend, we're getting ready for a return to the 50s for a nice warm up. Currently, we're at 43 with a few clouds over Baltimore, but pretty quiet otherwise. Around the state, temperatures are now in the 30s and the 40s, and we're getting ready for a cold night. You can expect temperatures below freezing for most starting off the day tomorrow. You'll want the layers. You'll want to give the cars some extra time to heat up. But by the afternoon, we have that warm up that's on the way. Typically around this time of year, our average high is 48. That's what we hit today. But tomorrow, we're talking the mid to upper 50s across the state with plenty of sunshine for a beautiful start to the weekend. We have high pressure dominating our pattern, keeping us dry, providing us with plenty of sunshine. That high pressure system remains in place tomorrow. We'll start off with clear skies, and we keep the sunshine throughout the afternoon. We'll start to have more clouds move in on Saturday, and then as we continue into the afternoon, clouds linger, but Sunday is when the next weather maker arrives. We'll start with a few showers for the morning, but the rain coverage increases across the state for the afternoon. There could be moments of moderate, even heavy rain, so you will want to have the rain gear if you'll be out and about. The rain continues overnight, and it will last us into Monday morning. This does mean that your commute may be a rainy one. Just make sure that you're prepared. As we head later into the day, the rain gradually starts to taper, and for the rest of the week, we're looking at a drier pattern. So we're talking numerous showers around the state on Sunday, followed by scattered showers on Monday, and then mostly dry on Tuesday. It looks good for the upcoming Wednesday and Thursday. 31 for the low temperature with clear and cold weather. Then tomorrow, 57 for the high with plenty of sunshine. We're talking temperatures in the mid-50s on Saturday and Sunday. The next weather maker leads to rain mainly for the afternoon and evening and night on Sunday. Rain continues on Monday. Highs will be around 57, but we cool down after that to the mid-40s and the low 50s. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Hundreds of families still dealing with a financial nightmare, and now a key leader is stepping down. The latest in the ongoing problems surrounding Maryland's college savings program.
The impeachment inquiry of President Joe Biden and the business deals of his son.
I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at the many pieces of this puzzle and how they all fit together. Hunter Biden's business deals have been in and out of the news for years now. The president's son was just handed his second federal indictment as investigations into him and his father intensify on Capitol Hill. So how did we get here? National correspondent Christine Frizzell connects the dots.
What did the Bidens do to receive the tens of millions of dollars from our enemies around the world? That's a simple question.
A simple question so far with no simple answers. Though Capitol Hill Republicans for years now have been collecting evidence related to dozens of deals Hunter Biden made along with millions of dollars that accompanied them, including $6.5 million from Ukraine. The Ukrainian energy company Burisma hired Hunter Biden to serve on its board. State prosecutor Victor Shokin, who is investigating Burisma, was fired at the behest of Joe Biden, who threatened to withhold aid to the country and appeared to brag about it years later.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Other deals included companies in China, Russia, and Romania. Deals which required Hunter Biden to report details under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, which he did not. Years of money coming in also meant millions owed in taxes, which Hunter Biden has since paid, but which two IRS whistleblowers said he didn't for years, also alleging their own work was stymied by those trying to protect the Biden family.
Prosecutors concealed contents of Hunter Biden's laptop from investigators. DOJ slow-walked steps to include interviews, serving document requests, and executing search warrants.
Just last week, Hunter Biden was handed a second indictment, charged with 6 misdemeanor and 3 felony tax offenses, following the first one in September for lying on a form to purchase a firearm. Those charges being fought by the younger Biden and his attorney.
All of this is playing out as House Republicans just voted to make the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden official. The White House called the move purely political.
They've decided from the moment that he took office
that they were going to impeach him. And now what they've done is wasted millions and millions of taxpayer dollars on a fishing expedition trying to drum up an excuse for it.
A contentious battle expected to heat up just as President Biden fights for a second term in the White House. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
New proposals from two top prosecutors looking to help curb the juvenile crime crisis. We look at the potential impact across the state.
I'm Janae Bowens in Washington with a look at the alarming increase of accidental overdoses of a popular weight loss and diabetes drug.
New tonight, the embattled executive director of the state's college savings plan quietly stepped down from his position last month.
That's right. Tony Savia's resignation follows a year of intense controversy for the state agency. From frozen accounts to disappearing funds, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor breaks down the many problems parents faced under Savia's leadership and their reaction to his resignation.
Well, it's a departure that many account holders have been calling for, but not one that many saw coming. You'll remember earlier this year, state lawmakers passing new legislation ordering the Treasurer's Office to take over the Maryland 529 program. This after the agency suddenly froze the funds inside thousands of accounts, then told investors they had been overpaid. In some cases, parents reported tens of thousands of dollars suddenly slashed from their child's college savings. In the year that Savia was overseeing the issues, account holders criticized him for poor communication and a lack of transparency. So when the Treasurer's Office took over the agency, many expected new leadership to follow. Instead, Savia stayed on to run the program despite outrage from account holders.
You've taken all of the bad decisions that were made prior to taking over and you're just continuing them. I need this money in order to pay for the fall semester tuition, or else I'm going to be going into debt. And I'm going to see that the state is responsible for that debt.
Now, Savia's last day with the agency was November 30th, marking just a little over a year with Maryland 529. During that time, FOX45 tried on a number of occasions to question Savia about the problems facing parents, but time and time again, Savia refusing to answer our questions. Take a look. Why won't you answer our questions? You're just ignoring us. You don't think that these families have a right to know what's going on with their money?
Patty is in there, and she's got a statement for you.
So you're not taking questions again?
Correct.
And why aren't you taking questions?
Patty over there has a statement.
The Treasurer's Office confirmed Savia's resignation this afternoon, but declined to comment when asked why he resigned. I also reached out to Savia directly, but have yet to hear back. From the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
What we decided to do to say, let's do something to really show the constituents that we really have their back, that we're here to fight for the people.
The ultimate goal is not to lock everyone up forever. The ultimate goal is rehabilitation, but how can you have rehabilitation without accountability? And that's what we're looking for.
Ahead of the legislative session next year, State's Attorneys Ivan Bates and Aisha Braveboy from Baltimore City and Prince George's County, respectively, are coming together with one goal: to curb juvenile crime. They're pushing for new legislative proposals that they say or believe will help stop the violence.
Let's take a closer look at the proposals they're putting on the table. Currently, under the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, juveniles 13 years old and younger cannot face charges for nonviolent misdemeanor offenses. Bates and Braveboy are urging lawmakers to increase the probation for kids who are found with a gun or caught stealing a car. Under their proposal, probation limits would increase to 18 months for certain misdemeanors and 4 years for violent felonies. Braveboy says with longer probation periods, it gives the young person more time to complete a rehabilitation program. They would also like to see the state's attorney's office get involved in handgun and car theft cases earlier. Next, with the current Juvenile Interrogation Act, an attorney must give permission to law enforcement to question a juvenile. Bates says he would like to see the law require attorneys to be present during the meeting and questioning. He argues this allows an attorney to have a discussion with parents and the child to decide the best course of action.
Right now, it's unclear if these proposals will be adopted by the legislature when they reconvene in January, but the impact they could have would affect the entire state.
Brad Bell from our Sinclair sister station in D.C. taking a closer look at whether these ideas could effectively curb crime in Prince George's County.
Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy standing with Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates in front of the State House, announcing changes to state law they'd like to see to help prosecute those who do crime, including juveniles. Braveboy speaking specifically about the epidemic of carjackings.
It's really important for us to be able to hold everyone involved accountable.
But we did some digging into the data and find that as things stand now, those who do crime in Prince George's County are less likely to be held accountable than in any other jurisdiction in the state. According to this annual report from the Maryland Judiciary, more than 81% of cases in the district court are not prosecuted with a declaration called nolle prosequi, or put aside on what's called the Stet docket, a total of 14,194 out of 17,344 cases, with only 3% of those cases ending with a guilty verdict. Compare that to Baltimore City, where 11,358, or 63% of cases, are dropped. We asked Braveboy about the stats. She questions the data, but responds by saying cases involving juveniles aren't being dropped.
We try pretty much every one of those cases unless we have identification issues.
She also claims a change in laws defining gangs to include smaller neighborhood crews will help.
The gang statute, the expansion that we need is important because a lot of the cases that we're seeing involve individuals who we can't prove the more serious offense for.
Now, the state's attorney contacting me by phone after that press conference, she says she still doesn't fully understand why these numbers are what they are. She does suggest that police no-shows in court could play a role in all of these cases being dropped, and she says she'll have more information for us tomorrow. In Annapolis, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
With Baltimore City reporting murders, non-fatal shootings, and robberies declining, in Prince George's County, it's a different story. Last month, the county saw its 100th homicide for the year. In 2022, the county ended up with 102 homicides in that year.
It is very heartbreaking. We're working with urgency to make sure that we're addressing the violence that we're seeing.
Well, carjackings are also up in the county. As of yesterday, there have been 486 carjackings compared to 411 this time last year. Robberies are also up 23%. Prince George's County Executive Angela Also Brooks has attributed the spike in crime to the current juvenile justice laws.
I hear police say all the time that they arrest youth who say, why don't you hurry up and finish this paper because I'm going to be released before the ink dries.
Well, in Hartford County, a family is speaking out 4 years after they say a teenager killed their daughter. They say the state needs to change the way it handles young criminals before other parents wind up grieving just like they are. Fox 45's Vincent Hill has their message.
Although the current juvenile laws were not in effect in 2019 when Brittany was killed, the Fosters are hoping changes will come so other parents won't feel their pain.
It's very painful. It really is. It's just painful.
Rob and Helena Foster holding on to the happy images.
There she is in brownie. Look at that. Let's see.
Of their daughter, Brittany.
I've got tons of pictures. Isn't that beautiful of her?
Because the last images they have is her casket being lowered into the ground.
That's my baby. It was an honor to be her father. And it shouldn't have been cut short like it was.
Brittany and her friend Julian Rosalie were killed in July of 2019 after being robbed in Baltimore City.
Why? Why did he have to do it? They had her pocketbook.
According to charging documents, the two suspects can be seen in this alley, captured on this camera. A few minutes later, you can see the suspects following the victims on this camera. And that same camera captured the two victims being shot execution style right here. The shooter at the time, then 17-year-old Charles Anderson, charged as an adult.
Little sweet thing.
Then he walked over to my daughter, who was on her knees crying, and executed her, putting bullets in her head. That's what happened.
But that wasn't Anderson's first violent crime.
When he was 17 years old, he committed a crime when he was 16, but then he was arrested for armed robbery, assault, gun charges when he was 17. And then a couple days later, the judge, Judge Bloomquist, let him out on a $100,000 unsecured bond without any conditions, because 6 months later, he robbed and murdered my daughter.
At Anderson's sentencing this past Friday, his attorney claimed at the time of the murder, his client didn't know what he was doing because of his age. Rob, when you heard what the attorney said, tell me how that made you feel.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I was wondering what was going to be their defense. And all it was is talking points from Annapolis.
He's referring to DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi, who says a person should not be exposed to the prison system before the age of 25.
And he had brought up about, well, Your Honor, they're finding now that when that you're not, that your brain is not fully developed until you're 25 years old.
Although Brittany's murder happened before the state's current juvenile crime laws took effect, these parents say they're opening the door for crimes like this to happen more often. They say they want to close the book on the current juvenile crime laws.
We have to find a way, all of us, to work together to reform these laws, because if we don't, what we're seeing now, it's out of control.
Before more parents end up grieving.
It's just sad that I'll never see her again until I die.
Anderson's co-defendant was sentenced last year for his part in the robbery. Now inside that courtroom was his now 14-year-old brother as the judge handed down a 40-year sentence. That 14-year-old charged with armed carjacking 2 weeks ago. In the control room, Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Trending right now, poison control centers are getting more calls related to accidental overdoses of a popular injected weight loss and diabetes drug. You may know it as Ozempic. National correspondent Janae Bowens explains the dangers.
Now, this catchy jingle is for the diabetes medicine Ozempic. It's a brand of semaglutide that many celebrities use to lose weight.
My doctor, my anti-aging doctor, just hands it out to anybody, right? I didn't even know I was on it.
Semaglutide is also sold as Wegovy for weight loss. And we're now seeing more people accidentally overdosing. From January through November, Poison Centers reported nearly 3,000 calls involving semaglutide. That's a more than 15-fold increase since 2019.
Because there's been so much demand, there's been a shortage.
Dr. Anand Pare, chief medical advisor for the Bipartisan Policy Center, says the demand is a big factor in the accidental overdoses.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of fake and counterfeit medication around, so that's the first. Secondly, some pharmacies are compounding or making this on their own, and unfortunately, when they do so, sometimes they incorrectly dose the medicine. Sometimes they add additional ingredients.
Ozempic and Wegovy's manufacturer is suing 2 pharmacies for copycat drugs.
Even if the medication, if it's the actual patented medication, you receive it in an auto-injector pen, and people can incorrectly auto-inject that and get the wrong dose.
The American College of Medical Toxicology reports an overdose case out of New York that involved the patient accidentally taking 20 times the recommended amount. Now, some signs of a semaglutide overdose include dizziness, chills, impatience, fatigue, seizures,